Alright, today in class we talked about powers of 10. And this video is to go over your homework that you had tonight and to help you check the answers. But before I go over the homework, I wanted to take a few minutes to review what we talked about in class. Remember, when we're talking about powers of 10, we have a couple things that we need to remember. The first thing is we're talking about the number 10. It's always going to be the number 10. That's why it's called powers of 10. You also see the word powers, and we know that powers means exponents. And so not only will we always have the number 10, but we'll always have some number up here to be the exponent. Let's say our exponent is the number 2. So let's review what 10 to the second power means. This means that we're going to multiply the base 10 2 times, which would give us 10 times 10. When we write 10 times 10, what we're doing is we're writing 10 to the second power in expanded form. If we want to know what 10 squared equals, we just multiply 10 times 10, and that gives us 100. 100 is written in standard form. Alright, so let's try another one. Let's do 10 to the third power. Well, we can write that in expanded form, and we know that 10 to the third power says that we have to multiply 10 by itself 3 times. That gives us 10 times 10 times 10. We know that 10 times 10 is 100, and 100 times 10 is 1,000. So 10 to the third power, written in standard form, is 1,000. What about 10 to the fourth? 10 to the fourth can be written in expanded form by writing 10 times itself 4 times. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. We know that 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. And 1,000 times 10 gives us 10,000. And we can keep going on and on and on. Every time we write an exponent, we multiply our number 10 that many times. Let's look at some patterns that we're starting to see. Look up here at 10 squared. We see that our exponent is a 2. We know that exponent tells us to multiply 10 2 times. So we multiply 10 by 10, and we get the number 100. When we multiply 10 to the third power, that's 10 times 10 times 10, and we see that we get the number 1,000. Are you starting to notice that pattern yet? When we did 10 to the fourth, we multiplied 10 by 10 by 10 by 10, and we got 10,000. Have you noticed how I've been underlining those zeros? Because when we use powers of 10, we start to notice patterns in our zeros. The exponent, which tells us the number of times we multiply by 10, also tells us how many zeros should be in our answer. 10 squared, or 10 to the second power, means we have to put 2 zeros in our answer. That's the number 100. 10 to the third power tells us that we have to have 3 zeros in our answer, and that's the number 1,000. 10 to the fourth tells us we need to have 4 zeros in our answer, and that's the number 10,000. So the pattern with powers of 10 tells us that the exponent gives us how many zeros need to be in our answer. It's a great way for us to check, and it's also a great way for us to work smarter, not harder. As long as we remember we get our answer because we're multiplying 10 by 10 by 10 by 10, however many times that exponent tells us. All right, so that was a quick review of powers of 10. So now let's look at the homework for tonight. Now, if you are watching this video, it means you're following the rules and you're checking your homework. In order for me to know that you're doing this, I'm going to give you a special secret symbol that you're going to put on your homework tonight. If I see this symbol tomorrow when we're checking homework, you might get a special treat. So right now, as you're checking your homework, I want you to put at the top of your paper a smiley face, just like that. This smiley face tells me you watched this video and you checked your answers. So don't forget to put your smiley face on top to tell me that you checked your answers. All right, let's look at our homework for tonight. The first column says that we must identify the exponent that has the same value as the number below. All right. Well, number 1 is the number 1,000. If we remember our trick, the number of zeros tells us the exponent. 1,000 has 1, 2, 3 zeros. So that means that our answer is 10 to the 3rd power. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 is the number 100,000. If we count our zeros, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. We know that each zero is another number in our exponent, so this is 10 to the 5th power. Number 3 is an easy one. It's just 10. There's only one zero, so that means it's 10 to the 1st power. Number 4 is a long one. That's the number 1,000,000. We can count our zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that tells us that this is the same as 10 to the 6th power. Well, that's a strange looking one on number 5. That's just the number 1. What would give us the number 1? Well, 10 to the 0 power gives us the number 1. And you can remember that by saying that there isn't any zeros in our answer. There are 0 zeros. This is one you might just have to memorize, and that's okay. Number 6 is 10,000. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros means that this is the same thing as 10 to the 4th power. And the last one is number 100. 2 zeros means it's 10 to the 2nd power. How'd you do? Did you get them all right? Hopefully you did, but if not, I hope my explanation has helped you a little. Let's look at the second column now. The second column asks for us to identify the equation that has the same value as the exponent below. They want us to give an equation. That means we need to write it in expanded form. Number 1 is 10 to the 4th. We know that this exponent means that we have to write 10 times 10 4 times, which is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. And just to make sure, I'm going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the same. That's all they want us to do. We don't have to solve this yet. Let's look at number 2. 10 to the 6th tells me I need to multiply 10 by itself 6 times. I better write pretty small for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Almost ran out of room on that one. That's 10 to the 6th power. Number 3 is 10 squared, or 10 to the 2nd power. This one is easy. It's just 10 times 10. Number 4 is 10 to the 3rd. That 3 tells me I need to multiply 10 by itself 3 times. That's 1, 2, and 3. Number 5 is 10 to the 1st power. This is a pretty easy one because it just means I need to do 10 one time. Well, that's 10 one time. So when we see 10 to the 1st power, we don't actually multiply 10 by anything. It's just 10. Number 6 is 10 to the 5th power. That 5 tells us we need 5 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last one, 10 to the 0 power. Do you remember what 10 to the 0 power equaled? Let's go back over and look. 10 to the 0 power equals 1. So we're just going to write 1. All right, that wasn't too bad, right? Let's move on to the last column. The last column asks us to identify the number that has the same value as the equation. So now they want me to write it in standard form. They want the actual number. So 10 times 10, we know that one. But if we forgot, we can always just look at those zeros. There's 2 zeros over here. That means I need 2 zeros in my answer. And we all know that 10 times 10 is 100. Let's look at the next one. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Whoa. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tens. That's the same thing as 10 to the 5th power. If I know that there are 5 tens, that must mean that there are 5 zeros. So my answer needs to have 5 zeros in it as well. So I write that 1 and then I put on 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't forget your commas. Count by 3 and put your comma. 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3. Man, 10 to the 5th power equals 100,000. Let's look at number 3. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 tens, or 10 to the 4th power. Because there's 4 tens, that's 4 zeros. So my answer has to have 4 zeros in it as well. Put your 1 and give them 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Don't forget your comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. So 10 to the 4th is the same as 10,000. Let's look at number 4. 10 times 10 times 10. That's 3 tens, so it's the same thing as 10 to the 3rd power. Well, 3 tens means 3 zeros, so I put my 1 and my 1, 2, 3 zeros. And of course my comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. So 10 to the 3rd is the same thing as 1,000. Let's look at the last one. The last one is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Or, let's just count those tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the same as 10 to the 6th power. 6 tens means that we have 6 zeros. So there needs to be 6 zeros in my answer. So there's my 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I put my comma in, starting from the right. 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. Whoa, 10 to the 6th means 1 million. And then we have the last one here, which is blank, so we don't do anything to that one. And there you go. That's your whole homework checked. So, if you followed all the way through the end of this video, then you now not only know if you got your homework right or wrong, but hopefully you know what you did. If you're still kind of confused, don't forget to circle the one that confused you so we can talk about it in class. Now, to make sure that those of you watched this whole video get a super special treat, let's go back up to that smiley face we put at the top. If you're still watching this video, which means you watched the whole thing and you now understand powers of 10 really well, give your smiley face a tongue. That tongue is going to tell me that you watched this whole video, and you're the ones who deserve that special treat. It also tells me that you're the ones who really understand powers of 10. All right, I hope this video helped, and I'll see you all bright and early tomorrow for school. Have a wonderful afternoon.